Thank you for tuning in to the Into the Classroom series produced by Mental Health California, sponsored by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. Hi, I'm Michael P. Coleman, your host for today, and I want to thank you for watching today's Into the Classroom webinar. We're going to be featuring another fantastic community partner. It's an organization called Pro Youth and Families, and I can't wait to introduce a couple of the leaders to you from that organization. First of all, we've got Stacy Anderson. She's the president and CEO of Pro Youth and Families. Stacy, how are you doing today?
Good. It's nice to be here.
It's really great to be with you. Thanks for joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing about your organization. And we're going to be joined by Elisa Kamal. She's the Chief Program Officer over there. Hey, Elisa, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Thanks for being with us today. Let's jump right in. You guys put a fantastic deck together for us. It looks beautiful, by the way. So I thought we'd just kind of go through that page by page and talk about a few elements of your program. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds great.
First, I want to ask you, before we get into the meat and potatoes of your program, I noticed the word hope is a theme throughout that site. I read it over and over and over again. So I wanted to ask the two of you, I don't know who wants to take this first question, but why is the word hope so important and so vital to you when you talk about services to youth and families?
I'm just going to start by a very simple answer. If you don't have hope, what do you have? I think that it is the foundation of everything for a human being. And, that was one of the things that we measure also through our work is, are we giving young people the opportunity to even believe and feel hopeful in the world, in the future? And that's really the foundation of the work that we're doing. Elisa, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think without hope, the youth really don't have anything to strive for. So just being able to give them an element of hope is just going to build up their confidence that they can be something, right? That they can be what they actually dream to be overall. And so that's really the purpose, is inspiring young adults, young individuals, youth, to not only make a difference for themselves and what their inner purpose is, but also make a difference in their communities.
So I was just going to say, and we have a pretty extensive evaluation process that we do with our programming, and that comes through. I think we surprise ourselves sometimes on how much our work does really increase young people's hope.
And do you think, I don't mean to lead you with this question, do you think that there is a lack of hope out there? As the two of you were talking, I was reminded of an old sacred text, without hope, the people perish. And so I'm inspired by your instilling hope into this program, but I'm curious, did you perceive before you launched the program or the agency that there might have been a lack of hope in the community generally?
Oh, yeah. It's a chronic, I think our whole nation, our whole country. Our young people are experiencing everything we're experiencing, right? But even more with less information. So, yeah, it's a big deficit.
Yeah. Well, thanks for filling that gap, filling in for that deficit, you guys. You've done a great job from what I can read. Let's take a look at that next slide, if we could. I want to ask you, I'm a fan of vision statements more so than mission statements. And I want to ask you guys about a particular element of this. What would you have to say about youth being change agents in their community? That's the piece of that really turned me on. So could one of you talk about why you think youth have to play an active role in changing their environment?
Well, what I want to say about the history, and I always say in the DNA of Pro Youth, we've been around 42 years. We've always had young people at the center of the work that we're doing. They're the ones that deliver the messages. They're the ones that we are empowering to be able to make change in their community. And I think what's so important is they need to believe that they can do that. And so we're really there to support them in gaining the skills and tools that they need so that they can have impact on the world, like in their communities. And that in and of itself is a hugely empowering experience, and it's what creates change for them. I mean, it gives them hope that they actually have some power and control in their own worlds, right? So it is everything we teach them to do in all the different aspects of the work that we're doing.
This is a question I hadn't planned to ask, but I have to. You said you've been around for 42 years. Do you
Yep.
deal with alumni, so to speak, from the program? Do you
Yep.
work with adults that came through the program as youth?
We do. We actually have a staff member right now who joined our civic engagement work at 14, and now he is delivering that work out into the community. And he talks all the time about the power of being able to learn how to do that.
Wow.
And it's super exciting to see him in this role.
Wow, I want to see that for myself. I hope I get to meet him one day. Congratulations. Yeah,
You will.
that's really exciting, really exciting. I want to take a look at the next slide if I could. You've got something there, and it's part of that belonging core value. You mentioned inclusivity specifically. And I want to ask there, that's a powerful word as well. Why is it so important that you're quite inclusive as you're building programs and services?
Yeah, definitely. I think without having that sense of belonging for youth, they really have no desire to be a part of something. You know, a lot of the youth that we work with have been abandoned by so many individuals in their life, that us being different by giving them a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging, that without them, there is no future. And being able to help them understand that and build that sense of confidence within themselves to say you can be that difference maker. You don't have to fall into the footsteps of maybe the family dynamics or, you know, the system that you're in, but you can be that different person. It really takes building that rapport with each of our individual young people and then motivating them to be able to, you know, take on what is their role in the community, what differences do they want to make, not only in their lives but in their family units lives, in their communities lives. What is the thumbprint of impact that they want to leave altogether?
And how do you go about kind of moving one of your youth through that track, so to speak? I'm remembering myself when I was a youth, and it wouldn't have been so obvious to me that I had to play such an active role. So how do you motivate a young person that's not necessarily thinking of themselves yet in that way? If you could tell
Yeah,
us.
so we process them through a different process of really identity, understanding who they are, understanding their baggage, and like what is it that keeps them where they are, what keeps them stagnant, right? And then from there, really seeing what is that sense of purpose, what does success look like to them? Because the reality is, I can be able to say success looks a certain way, but to them, it may not look that way, right? So really, it's motivating their intrinsic selves to say, okay, what do I bring? What difference can I make? And then to know and us affirm as facilitators and as leaders that yes, you can do that. Yes, you can be the difference. It just really sets them on a different track of, oh my goodness, success is possible for me. Now we work with different individuals, right, with various backgrounds. So having just that sense of affirmation makes all the difference.
And is there a way, I don't want to belabor this question too much, but you really intrigued me, Elisa, talking about this. Is there a moment when you see it happening? How can you tell when the youth has made the connection that you're talking about?
Yeah, so really it's about the relationship, right? So at the very beginning, a lot of the things we see could be stonewalling. And I don't know if you know that term, but basically it's like, I don't care. It's very much like a flat, like if they just hit a wall, they're just not there. But then something sparks, and really it's like an internal, you know, I don't know if it's like an internal dialogue that happens within the youth where then they start to really express vocally with the facilitators in the classrooms about, hey, well then can I do this? You know, and then they start to really reach out and say, what can I do? How can I be able to help out? And that's where you start to see the change. I like to call it like the theory of change at that point, where the facilitators start to notice their interactions increase. And then at that point, it's just report building, asking questions, allowing youth to have a voice in the classroom, and being able to discuss what it is that they feel, what they would like to share.
Elisa, before we move on, the agency's been around for 42 years. How many of those years have you been in your chair? Because you seem to really know your stuff.
My goodness.
You're
I've
right.
been
We're
with
lucky
the
to have her.
organization for going on 5 years. Yeah. So I know it's a long time. But you know, I was one of the facilitators. That's where I started my role. So I was able to go from facilitator to manager to director to now chief of programs. So being able to see what the youth, what the youth experience and also what the facilitators see and every single, stage has allowed me to just have that inner depth of knowledge.
That's what I was picking up on. I could tell. I'm not surprised to hear that you came through several steps of the organization because you know it like the back of your hand. So that was just really great to listen and to hear. Let's take a look at that next deck, guys. You talked about two different pillars of your programming on one of those slides. So if we can move on to that. Well, before we get there, these are the areas of work. I asked you about hope before, and then I love the visual here. So if your nucleus is hope, you've got wellness, youth voice, and collective impact. Would the two of you like to just kind of briefly elaborate on those three pillars that surround hope?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think in the wellness bucket, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the work we've been doing recently, but around Mind 16 initiative and, in our relationship skills development and all of those things, substance use prevention, it's all, it's all in the bucket of wellness. And we work in over 47 different schools. And so we really have an opportunity to be in front of young people with a variety of different information and really facilitating opportunities to have honest conversations, create safe environments where they can really do this work. And I think, it's a all-encompassing, experience for these young people. And there's so much in the area of wellness, specifically around mental wellness right now. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Then there's also Youth Voice, and we have 5 different youth civic engagement programs, and that could be a whole program in and of itself, but it's really exciting work that we do. One is for the Board of Supervisors in Sacramento County. We actually have the very first youth advisory board to the Board of Supervisors in the behavioral health realm. So, and they're selected by the Board of Supervisors, and then we work with them all year to present policy and really have a voice at that table. They have put forth a number of policies that have really had an impact, and so that's exciting. And we work with City of Rancho Cordova and Yolo County Office of Ed. So we have a lot of different organizations and systems, government agencies that are coming to us to have us help develop those civic engagement opportunities. But the young man that we were talking about who now works for us, Nick, he was in one of these programs, and they're very powerful, very, very powerful experience. Our collective impact started about 7 years ago. I've been doing this work for a very, very long time, and I've been running Pro for over 21 years. So there was way too much competition, not enough money in the youth space, everybody fighting, and I was sick of that. So I started to just pull people together and say, how do we do this differently? Like, we know the systems are broken, and we know young people aren't getting enough resources, and we know we're all kind of fighting about it. How do we bring and create a collective model that we can then start to bring more money into the community and really do good youth work in supporting equitable programming, supporting organizations that also know how to work with these young people, right? So you fast forward 7 years ago when people go, what are you talking about? I don't know, to now. We have delivered to hundreds of kids amazing programming, working with 72 nonprofit partners in the region, and we've pushed out over $6 million because we have become a core group working together to make that happen, and that's what our young people deserve. And we are really working with a lot of the systems that make it impossible to deliver services. Right? I always say you have policy and you have reality, and I say we're right in the middle. Like, we can translate the policy, we can push back, and we can bring it to the community and work with the community to actually deliver programming. So we're reaching thousands more kids through this model as well. And that's a whole other conversation. right?
Well, and that we may do a part two with this because I want to hear both about a little bit more about collective impact, and I'd love to hear more about youth voice. We'll make sure everyone has your website as we're done as we wrap up
Great.
today, so they can read more about it. Thank you so
Yep.
much for outlining that. It really is a powerful series of programs rather, and initiatives that you put together.
Yeah, that's the way. We're really excited about it. And we're doing, and there's some amazing work that we're doing with our partners. So yeah, we'd love to talk more about it.
Wow, wow. Let's take a look. Speaking of those initiatives, I noticed under initiatives you got, and I'm going to ask you about both of them if you got time, because I'm so intrigued by both of these. Under youth and family collective, my question for you is there a place at the table? When I thought about a family collective, it reminded me of that village that everybody talks about. It takes a village to raise a child. And I'm wondering, we're going to have a lot of parents, but also a lot of caregivers watching this as well that might not have that genetic relationship, so to speak, not be a part of that nuclear family. Is there a place at the table for community members who aren't very directly connected to that youth? And is that what that collective is all about?
So the collective is really the collective impact model, which is called Youth and Family Collective. And the idea was also to bring in organizations that do work with families. And that's exactly what we have. As a matter of fact, some of the programs that we have going on where we actually pay young people to do a 40-hour program of 20 hours of training and 20 hours of delivering to the community advocacy work around different things. Parents are very involved with that with their young people. They're excited about it, and it brings them into topics that typically people stay away from. Reproductive health conversations that young people are working around, mental wellness, drug and alcohol, specifically around marijuana. So the answer is that this model brings together a lot of different people through the programming that we're delivering with our partners.
Fantastic to hear. And Mind16, and I hope I'm pronouncing
Yep,
it correctly.
good.
I was intrigued by the title alone. So tell us about Mind16, and I know we've got another slide that describes it.
Well, so what I want to start by telling is kind of a little story of, right during COVID, the community came to us because we were really working with a lot of different partners and said, we have this huge gap with youth. We don't have wellness work. We need to be in front of our young people and figure out how do we give them some tools? How do we help build their resilience, so that they can manage their own mental wellness? And so we stepped up to the plate and worked with partners and developed this program called Mind16. And it's the reason it's named that is 1 in 6 young people struggle with mental illness. And so we called it Mind16. So we've rolled out this curriculum. So about 3 years we've been piloting the program, and we reached over 550 young people with this curriculum. And then we kind of retooled it and have put it back out in the community. But the idea with this is that we are going to be training other people in the community, and we already have some community partners trained up to deliver the program in a way that really works for their community. It's a model that's really focused on positive youth development. So it's about creating a safe space for that work to happen. I think too many times we focus on what are the specific detailed things that we're going to teach. I don't even like actually calling it a curriculum because it's really an experience for those youth, so that they can explore all of these different topic areas. It's definitely culturally responsive. And part of that is in handing this over to communities, training them up, they can do what they know needs to be done in a relevant way to connect with young people and their communities. It's trauma-informed practice and really strength-based. So that didn't exist. It doesn't exist in many places. We just don't do the wellness work. So that's really Mind16. And I know Lisa has actually really been taking that out into the community and talk a little bit more about some of the experiences young people have around that and just what we're seeing. I mean, it's such I don't have to say it. It's a crisis, right? And we're never going to have enough behavioral health, ever. Behavioral health people, specialists to be able to work with these young people. So we have to equip our communities and our young people.
Yeah, definitely 100%.
And Lisa, do you want to talk about a little bit before we move on what you're seeing?
Yeah, I am a mental health clinician. So I think that that's an added value, I would say, to just my insight of what I'm able to see out in the community, see where those needs really are. And a lot of the needs that the youth have is really being a part of something, and then feeling like they are a part of something. So, for example, we did start Mind 16 peer to peer program where we're going into the school sites and we're raising up young people to become advocates on their campuses. And what that looks like is we take them through the curriculum itself. And then one of the things that I have heard from youth has been, my peers are coming to me, but I don't know how to respond to their questions. My peers are coming to me, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. So it's really allowing them to be able to have that voice, to be able to speak out in confidence, but also know the boundaries where, hey, these are the areas maybe that you don't go into, but these are the areas that you can assist a young person in. And I think that that has been really successful. There's been quite a few youth who have come out of the program already, who have been very excited to be those advocates on the campus, to be connected with wellness centers on their campuses and be the voices, to work with these peers, um, with their peers, to be able to help them in those times of not so much crisis, but in those times of need. Whether it's a friend to talk to if they're feeling lonely, or if they're feeling, a sense of, I don't know where I can get some help, they can be a resource center to be able to offer those resources out to their peers out on the campuses. So been very successful overall, and we're continuing to do the work one person at a time.
The other thing that we've found really interesting as we're rolling this out to communities and to our school partners, there we need adults want something themselves. So, and the adults working with these young people are really asking us to then design something that is a mini version for them because they don't know how to help and support youth. So there's a big gap in this area.
One of the things I appreciate both of you going into such detail to describe this program, and I know our viewers are going to appreciate that as well. One of the things on this slide I really would like you to touch on before we run out of time, it's the fourth or fifth, maybe sixth bullet point down, sessions that discuss trusted adults. And that struck me. I've done some mentoring in my life. I'm also a parent. I've got two adult kids of my own. And I know that a lot of times, or I believe, Elisa, you can maybe tell me, I don't know it because I'm not a mental health clinician, but I believe that the key is establishing trust. And once the young person trusts you, and a lot of times if youth are if they've experienced trauma, then that's not going to happen overnight. That might take some time. Can you talk about the role of trusted adults in what you're doing, and can you give parents and caregivers a tip or two on how they can start at least to
Yeah.
establish trust with the young people that they're working with or living with?
I definitely do think that being a trusted adult is a lot of responsibility. And sometimes I think as trusted adults, as adults, we think that we need to be there all the time for the youth, have every answer for every question they have. Reality is that there should be healthy boundaries even in conversation. I really believe that when, many times we want to help fix the youth. And I think that that has been actually a problem, because when we're trying to fix the youth, it doesn't really allow the youth the room to be able to aspire to who they are and who they are on the inside, right? And I think building that relationship with the youth, with their child, with their, niece, nephew, whoever it is, building that relationship with the youth, getting to know who they are, getting to know, what their passions are, getting to know their story really helps build that bridge to become a trusted person in their lives. And I think the more that we allow youth to be able to express themselves, the more the youth begin to feel like, I am able to have a conversation with this adult. I do trust this adult. And trust may look different for each youth, right? I think many times we try to define what trust is. The reality is depending on the trauma that they've gone through, the things, the hardships that they had to go through, really defines what that trust looks like. So I like to say any step of initiative in which the youth are taking to be able to say, yeah, I'm taking that one step forward to build that relationship with the adult is a Lego piece to the trust schematic overall. So that would be my response to that.
Really appreciate that thoughtful response. Anything to add to that, Stacy? Maybe not. That was a heck of a response.
I know. That's why she's so good at what she does.
I was taking notes as you were talking, Elisa.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I think we've reached close to the end of our time together. We've got a final slide or two, I believe, to take a look at. That's just how folks, I shouldn't say just, that's how viewers can get a hold of you guys. There's your website and email address, info@proyouthandfamilies.org. And that website again, proyouthandfamilies.org. Really want to thank the two of you for joining us, Stacy Anderson, President and CEO, and Elisa Kamal, Chief Program Officer for Pro Youth and Families. Thanks a lot, guys, for being with us today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for inviting us. We've really enjoyed spending some time together.
I appreciate hearing that. And we just maybe spending some more time together.
That's good. We love to talk about our stuff.
If I have anything to do with it, I got another 15 questions I could ask, but we're out of time for that.
That's good. Leave them wanting more, right?
Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon. And I want to thank you for watching this particular production. This has been a production of Mental Health California. We're a service here in Northern California, and you can read all about Mental Health California at this website. I believe we got it there for you. Thank you, mentalhealthca.org. As long as I'm talking about Mental Health California, I've got to tell you about our signature initiative, Brother Be Well. It's designed for boys and men of color, and you can read all about that one at brotherbewell.com. I also want to thank our sponsor for today's webinar. We've been brought to you today by way of Blue Shield of California, and specifically their Blue Sky Initiative. You can read all about that initiative at bluesky.blueshieldca.com. That's bluesky.blueshieldca.com. My name again, Michael P. Coleman. I've been your host for today. It's been a great pleasure of mine to do that for you. Come back next time for another of these Into the Classroom webinars. And until that next time, I want you to do two great things for me. Take great care of yourself. Take great care of somebody else. Till next time, bye-bye.